Welcome to another Ask Arlington. I'm Jay Warren. Ask Arlington is a show that is dedicated to answering the questions that you have about what's happening here in our city. On this episode, we are focusing on the city's Action Center. Now, the Action Center is a one-stop shop for all city-related non-emergency service and information requests, and we've recently made some significant changes to make it even more responsive to our residents. First, the Action Center expanded hours to Saturdays to answer more calls from our residents. And the number for you to call if you have a question or something to report is 817-459-6777. Again, if some time to write this down, 817-459-6777. And for those who would rather communicate via social media, well, the Action Center has now also launched a Twitter account where you can report issues to help make Arlington a better place to live. And here to help answer all of your questions is Gilbert Mesa with the Action Center. Gil, thanks so much for coming in and joining us to answer these questions.
Thank you, Jay, for having me.
Sure. And before we get started with the resident questions, why don't you give us an overview? Why did you make these improvements to the Action Center here recently?
Well, the reasons why we did it, we wanted to improve overall customer service. We wanted to make ourselves more available to residents for their concerns, their questions that they may have. That was why.
And you've already started on Saturdays, and you're already getting a good volume of calls, right?
Yes, we are. We knew that there was a need for us to be there available on Saturdays. We answer just about any kind of call that comes in, with the exception of water customer service calls.
Yeah. Let's also talk a little bit about the Twitter account. If you're not all that familiar with Twitter, you're not quite sure how that's going to work, describe to us how the Twitter account for the Action Center works.
Well, the Twitter address, first of all, is at ARL Action Center. What we do is that we monitor our Twitter feed to look to see if residents are wanting to report various issues to us, or maybe even have a question for us. We're monitoring that during our normal business hours, and we'll reply back to them to let them know the answer, or that we've addressed their issue.
So the key is you've got to follow the Twitter feed for the Action Center and just post your question on there and you'll get a response.
That's correct.
All right, that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, let's get to some of our resident questions now. And our first one comes to us from Marlo. Marlo asks, could you explain what types of non-emergency services and requests that the Action Center responds to? Do these just run the gamut?
It does. It could be anywhere from an animal services issue. It could be a code compliance issue. It could be something just as simple as asking about a court date.
Okay. So you get all those questions?
Just about everything.
But the key is if you've got an emergency, you want people to call 911, not the Action Center.
That is correct. That is correct. We only take care of non-emergency, non-life-threatening issues.
Okay, very good. All right, well, our next question comes to us from Debbie. Debbie writes to us that she's called several times on Saturday in the past for code compliance issues. What specific departments are available on Saturday to respond to calls? You answered this, but what are so it's everything that you'll answer then, right?
It's everything with the exception of water customer service. That was one of the needs that we saw in having our operations available on Saturdays to answer questions, because we saw that, that there was going to be a volume of calls that we could be taking care of on Saturdays.
Right. And the animal shelter is open on Saturdays, so there's a good reason there for you guys to be open as well to take, in many cases, animal service calls, right? That's
correct. Right now, those are the bulk of our calls. It helps two ways. One, we're taking care of the call, so that frees up staff at the shelter so they can handle more of the walk-in volume as well.
Good deal. Well, our last question comes to us from Tony. Tony writes in saying that he's tried to figure out how to get a street light changed in his neighborhood and wonders if that's something that the Action Center covers. So let's say you have a street bulb that's out on one of the street lights. Call the Action Center?
Yeah, call us at 817-459-6777. To report it. We'll take all the information and we'll enter it and get it forwarded to that particular department.
And we should also point out you could go on the website, the city's website, and do that as well.
That is correct.
And now also the Twitter page.
There you go.
So you've got multiple ways to get that reported and get taken care of.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, Gil, thanks so much for coming in and answering these questions. We really do appreciate it, and we're happy to see all the improvements you guys are making.
Thank you very much, Jay.
All right, thanks. And that will do it for us. Thank you for writing in your questions and sending them to us via Facebook. Tune in next time as we answer more of your questions about what's happening right here in Arlington.